What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be back for another guide today. Last time we did a guide on the spy and we also did one on the sniper, which you guys liked, but today we're actually going to be doing a guide on the scout. I've been doing kind of guides on the classes that I've been playing the most, so my main three classes are Sniper, Scout and then Spy. And then the other classes I don't really play too much, but I will do guides on them as well as I kind of learn more about them. So in this guide we're going to be doing it on the Scout, because I do play Scout basically as my main class, and then I play Sniper as well. So I feel like I've got some tips on it. Some of you guys thought some of the tips on the Spy video were kind of off, so maybe I'll do a rework on the spy tutorial, but for now we're going to be covering the scout. So basically, first of all, we're going to be covering the items in the scout. Like every single other guide, we're going to be having a look at the items. So my loadout is as follows. I've got the babyface blaster. I've got around 400 kills on this, so it has got a pretty good value to it. I've got 400 kills on the babyface blaster, and on the winger I have 50 kills. Now I'm going to be telling you why I use these weapons. So there's a few different weapons. As you can see, I've got basically, I think every single scout weapon apart from one. Now I can't remember the name of the last one, but I have got most of them. Now I used to use the Force of Nature because it's super powerful, but the only problem is if you miss one bullet, you've got to take ages to reload two because it is a double barrel, so I wouldn't really recommend using it. Then I've got the soda popper, which is pretty good. It's not really that bad. As you can see, it does have good firing speed and reload speed, and you reload both shots at once. The only problem is yet again it's a two-shot like the Force of Nature. So what I've been using is the babyface blaster. Now you can see the stats. It doesn't have a great clip size, and it does actually increase your run speed with a boost, but it's got a slower movement speed on whoever uses it. It has its downsides, but the reason I use it is because it's kind of like the default scattergun, but in the sense that it's kind of like a semi-auto weapon. And as you can see, I hit a nice random crit there, and that's going to be a spy. But yeah, now we're going to be going through the class side of things. I've just shown you some of the items I used. We are playing a casual, so we're not going to be try-harding too much. But for an example, one of the biggest counters to the scout class is the soldier. You can see that this guy is going to be a huge problem for me. You want to avoid a few of the primary classes that are going to counter you. Now you can see that I nearly killed that soldier, but I did have a few dudes on me. The soldier's a huge counter for one, because he has the potential to basically one-shot you, especially if he has the direct hit or the black box. And then also another counter would obviously be a pyro, because pyros just do ridiculous damage to anyone. Pyros is just the bane of existence in literally any game. In the terms of things, the scout kind of does counter the pyro in the sense of things, but the pyro's damage is just kind of insane if you can get close to him. Other scouts are going to be a problem obviously, but if you can get your aim really down to the T, then they're not going to be too much of an issue. The thing is about the other classes is most of the time you're going to counter a lot of them. Sniper are basically never going to be able to hit you unless A, they're cheating, or unless they're a main sniper and they're really good at the game. It's really hard for a sniper to shoot a moving scout, especially a headshot like a kill shot. It's going to be almost impossible unless they're really good at the class. So snipers usually aren't a problem. As for pyro, you counter them as long as you stay at the range, but if they do get close to you, they can kill you extremely quickly. It's really hard to go against a black box or a direct hit on a soldier, like I mentioned before. If you get too close to a soldier and you can't kite them, they will 100% one-shot you every single time. As for the demo man, basically you counter the demo man almost entirely, as long as you stay at range. If you get too close, yet again, just like the soldier, they can one-shot you with one of the nades. If you can kind of kite them and keep just a few meters distance away from them so they obviously can't hit you, then it's actually pretty easy to kill them, especially if you can actually get your aim pretty well and hit them down. Probably the worst class to go against is the heavy, because it takes so many shots to actually kill a heavy, so most of the time you're going to be running in circles. Unless you can kind of lead them around in circles around an object or a wall, it's going to be almost impossible to kill a heavy. But if there's a medic and a heavy together, you obviously always want to prioritize the medic. But as a scout, most of the time you're not always going for kills. So the whole point of the scout is basically you are the fastest class in the game. Now, you're not here for kills, you're not here to build up your score. Basically you're here to capture the points for a start, and also push the payload cart if you play in the payload game mode. And the scout will actually push the payload cart, I think 2 times faster than any other classes. And you do have double jump, so you can use this to your advantage. You're super fast, you can kind of strafe, double jump and dodge shots a lot more easily. And you can use the double jump to get up to higher places basically that other people can't get up to. Basically the scout, he has to run up to people, shoot them a few times and then run off. This is kind of a hit and run strategy. This is kind of a strategy where you just kind of weaken the enemies, because like I said, you're not high damage enough to actually stay there, and you don't really have too much HP, so it's extremely hard for you to wait around and kind of just take out enemies. For an example, the soldier has 200 HP, so it's a lot easier for something like the soldier or the heavy to kind of stand in one spot and just chain kill people, but the scout kind of has a different role to that, so it's a lot harder. For an example, we have 125 HP as the scout, which makes things really hard, especially going for kills. What you need to do to stay alive is dodge explosives. You can see here that this demo man is shooting me with explosives, so I kind of have to dodge it. Once he has the lower ground, it makes it a lot harder for him to hit me. Now I do have a sentry on me and he is going down that passageway, so I'm not going to follow him because it wouldn't be a smart thing to do. Now to deal with other classes, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but to go through the individual classes a little bit, if you're actually going against another scout, so if you're going against someone who's playing scout as well, it's kind of a hit or miss. There's no specific way to dodge them, as it were. Like, the only way is kind of playing them at their own game. So obviously that scout's going to have exactly the same stats depending on what items he's chosen. He's going to obviously be really quick, and you just have to kind of make your movement unexpected. So for an example, try and make it so he won't be able to know what you're going to do next, because then that way you can kind of fool him, because obviously you're both going to be running at the same speed, you're both going to be trying to outgun each other and outrun each other, so you kind of need to just run around maybe in zigzags, do some random jumps and just strafe, just so he doesn't know what you're going to do next. The pyro is probably the bane of your existence when playing this class. It's the worst class to go up against, mainly because pyros just literally demolish anyone. And just like a simple shot from a pyro, whether it just be his flamethrower, he doesn't have to do anything fancy like the flare gun. Just one flamethrower shot from a pyro will basically get you killed if he's there for like 2 seconds or something, because it's just ridiculous how much damage they do. Basically you just need to keep your distance. It's exactly the same as a soldier, because they have really poor ranged attacks, but the problem with this is, obviously, unless they're cheating, it's really hard for them to hit a flare gun shot at you, so just avoiding them is mostly the only thing you need to do. But it's the same with soldiers. Soldiers have 200 HP and they can one-shot you, so you really need to stay away from soldiers. Basically they do 90 damage on the rocket launcher, which is pretty crazy, so the only way you can kind of do this is not just keeping a range, but also kind of jumping out of the shots, because if you are not super close, if you're a few meters away, it'll be extremely hard for a soldier to actually hit you if you're kind of jumping out the way of the shots. Just make sure you use double jump a lot in this occasion and just keep distance, especially because they don't just have a rocket launcher. If you do get close again, or if they run out of ammo, they can also switch to the shotgun, and especially if they get a random crit with it, it's going to be really deadly. So don't take things too serious unless you're playing competitive or something, but just take these tips for each class and use them to your advantage. So the next one's the heavy. Basically the heavy does insane damage with a minigun. It's just ridiculous to dodge a heavy, it's almost impossible. Basically because his weapon does so much damage, he is really slow, so you can use that to your advantage. You can kite heavies behind walls or objects, which makes it a lot easier, but it's really hard to take them head on. Most of the time you're not going to be able to take a heavy head on, mainly just because he's usually accompanied by a medic as well, so the best idea is just to try and shoot a few shots on the medic and kind of get them down and take out the medic first. And even if you go versus a heavy who's on his own, who hasn't got a medic accompanying him, which is usually not really common because usually they go hand in hand, then it's really hard. As for the engineer, it's probably the easiest class you can take out. Engineers are clunky, they're super slow, and without the sentry guns they're literally just a slower scout with less damage on the shotgun, because if they have a sentry you're going to die almost every time, because obviously if you're peeking a sentry it's not going to end well. But if you actually get an engineer like this one on this balcony, if I could actually take him head on his own, it'd be a really easy fight, but that's because he doesn't have a sentry with him. Now most engineers aren't going to run around just fighting on their own. So snipers at close range are just super simple. Like I said before, unless they're using some cheats, most of the time you'll find that snipers won't be able to hit you from a long range, and most of the time you'll find that snipers can't exactly headshot you like I mentioned before, because it's just simply too hard. As long as you've got decent movement, it's almost impossible for them to do it. So as long as you can kind of get close to them, they're going to be super easy to take out, because their close range is really terrible, especially because, let's be honest, the SMG does like 0 damage close range. But if you're playing something like 2-4, you can jump across the mid canal and get to their side super easily. So for an example, if I'm here as a scout, there's going to be a sniper on the other side usually, and you can just run across this and just strafe and then double jump onto their balcony and you can take the sniper out. One more thing is, don't stand still. Like I said, you do need to kind of dial down the movement, because if you're standing still you're not going to get anywhere. So never stand still, because it makes classes a lot easier to hit. Never stand too close to stuff, and make sure you know all the locations of the ammo and health on the maps. Now if you're playing default maps like 2-4, it's really simple for this, but like I said, you do have 125 base health, which makes things so much harder, because you're just going to be super low all the time, and if you take like a critical rocket shot or something, and even if you win the trade or win a fight, you're going to want to heal. So if you know where all the medic kits and things are, like I do here in the sewer, you're going to find stuff a lot easier, because you can get yourself healed up and then you can carry on and play the rest of the game basically. Now you can't use the bonk atomic punch when you're actually carrying a flag, because you will drop it, so you do need to remember that. A lot of the speed boost items you can't really use to your advantage when you're trying to carry the intelligence, so you kind of need to look into the items. Like I said, I've shown you my item build, but there's a lot of different builds you can choose from. As you can see, if you do get close to a pyro, you can kind of knock him down instantly. But he's already got me to 10 HP from literally 1 second of attacking me, which is pretty crazy. It's kind of a tough thing to do, because most classes you will need a range from, and then some classes it's better being up front to. So if you're against another scout where you need to be up front, or if you're against a sniper where you need to be close range, it's going to be a lot easier for you, because obviously the shotgun's going to do a lot more damage the closer you are. But if you stay range from people, you can always switch to your pistol sometimes, because the shotgun's not really going to do too much. So kind of find the balance, just kind of practice and just play random public games. Don't take things too seriously, don't jump into competitive if you don't want to, and use all these tips. I hope these tips helped you. I did kind of use all the tips which I've been using. A lot of the time I do manage to get to the top of the leaderboard with these tips, and I've just been playing a main and scout for a few days and winning a lot of engagements, and these tips should hopefully be helpful. If they're not helpful, let me know. If you do obviously main scout and you have some more tips, do let me know. On the last spy video, I admit that it probably wasn't as good as the other guides, but I had one person leaving some negative feedback, but he didn't really explain why until I obviously asked him. So if you do obviously think that there's more tips or something that I've missed, do tell me instead of just leaving like random comments, because otherwise no one will know what they're missing and they won't improve. If you also want to enter the giveaway, you can enter the giveaway this month. There is a chance to win the Lego Hobbit game, so if that interests you, do enter the giveaway. And also make sure to like and subscribe. I'll be doing guides on the other classes. I think I'm going to be doing the pyro next. If you want to learn how to actually play the pyro, then you can also check that out. That'll be on my channel soon. I do need to get it recorded, and I do need to practice the pyro a little bit, because I haven't really been playing the pyro for quite some time now. And I kind of want to get to grips and kind of practice the class a little bit more just before I make a guide. I don't make these guides unless I've played the class for quite some time, or if I've been practicing, because I don't really want to give false information. So if you guys enjoyed this video, smash the like button, subscribe, enter the giveaway. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Damn, son.